We may not agree on everything, but I love Nerdrotic a lot. It's just love his takes.
Nerdrotic.com.
So
Greetings,
much
you
fun.
over 1 million hellions and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. You know, occasionally, the IP miners,
Subscribe
formerly
to me
known as
too.
Hollywood, can strike gold as they did with Minecraft. See what I did there? A film I didn't like, but clearly a lot of people did, and they're having a lot of fun watching it, and good for them. Don't let me ruin your good time. It's set to make $1 billion and give the theaters the long overdue shot in the arm that they needed. This may be shocking news to Tinseltown, whether I liked it or not. When you make a crowd-pleasing movie, the crowd tends to show up. To contrast this, in only its third week at the box office, the disastrous Snow White has dropped to 4th place, and it's in single digits. While Snow White is yet just another classic tale and character sacrificed on the altar of the message, some are saying its failure is the kill shot to end it. And while I'm not entirely convinced of that, considering Black Snape and Meryl Streep as Aslan, it has become very clear that Hollywood is responding to the cultural shift far too late. For example, Disney's Frankensteinian
It's pronounced Frankenstein.
efforts to hastily reshoot and unmessage certain shows and movies like the aforementioned Snow White, Daredevil, and Captain African American. So it doesn't really matter if Hollywood is done with the message or not, because the
And you know, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Like, I don't think any of us really care what the skin color is of movie characters. It's when you deliberately talk down to your audience and make these changes for no reason other than what's obviously politically motivated. Like, that to me is what I think pisses a lot of people off. Like, people like watching black superheroes. People like watching black characters. Nick Fury, Black Panther, like, all great characters. Every Samuel L. Jackson character ever is awesome, and I would say that most of us love it, right? It's just, you can't get away with talking down to people and pushing your personal preferences onto people. Eventually, we will not be entertained. We're not entertained.
audience is. So as we transition from woke Hollywood to slop Hollywood, what's slop Hollywood? Well, after woke Hollywood, there's still a myriad of problems to deal with, including, but not limited to, creative bankruptcy and IP mining too greedily and too deep, producing an unending conveyor belt of content featuring unnecessary prequels, midquels, interquels, sequels, requels, reimaginings. And despite Disney canceling the live-action remake of Rapunzel, there's going to be a lot more of them to come. You don't think they're going to do a live-action Frozen? That's led to the theaters needing that shot in the arm from a Minecraft movie, but they can't survive on feast or famine. So the question has to be asked once again, how did we get here? Well, the access media is certainly willing to talk about the 1,000 paper cuts that have contributed to the theatrical demise. They have yet to acknowledge the gaping mortal wound. Until now, from, dare I say, a very thoughtful article written about Doctor Who on a Doctor Who website that we can and will apply to many other things, including Marvel, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, and Star Wars. Because no matter the size of the site, it is a rare thing when the access media acknowledges Hollywood and entertainment's biggest mistake. One fan's take, Doctor Who and so many other things used to feel welcoming. Now it feels antagonistic. I do recommend you go over to Doctor Who TV and read the full article by Charlie Madison. We're going to go over the bullet points and expand on it a little bit. I don't agree with everything, but I think it comes from a good place, and a lot of it might sound familiar. In recent years,
Let me guess. When guys are brought in to, or DEI hires are brought in to take over a creative IP, they don't actually respect it and love it for what it was. They need to change it and make it better and bring it into modern audiences' approval. I'm guessing that's probably what half of this is going to be. But let's see what else.
there's Doctor Who and Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, and pretty much everything genre hasn't felt like the show slash movie slash book I grew up loving. It's not just nostalgia talking either. It feels like something deeper has shifted, because it has. and not in a way that brings people together. These days, fans don't seem to talk much about the plots or mysteries anymore. Instead, most of the noisier conversations I see around Doctor Who and all the other things are about controversy, politics, identity, and whether the show is making some kind of statement. And whose fault is that? Well, I'll tell you whose it isn't, the audience. But Charlie does implicate one of the two guilty parties, the access media, by mentioning gaslighting headlines that don't really inspire people to go to a movie, watch a show, or pick up a book. And while the media will take things out of context from time to time, a lot of these gaslighting headlines come directly from the pie hole of the creators. And the latest example,
you know, like, you don't get to take over someone's favorite franchise, gaslight them, talk down to them, and preach to them, and tell them that they're toxic scumbags when you disrespect the lore and change everything, and then get their money in return. Like, that doesn't work. You know, I bet you the Star Wars Mandalorian movie, it's gonna bomb. It's gonna bomb. Like, it's not gonna do well. We are so sick of Star Wars that we are absolutely gonna gut that movie. Okay, that's my prediction for Star Wars. It's gonna bomb. It's
example of that
well.
Comes from new Doctor Who companion Verita Sethu and the Doctor itself, Shudigatwa. Sethu or Sethu said, "There's a couple of Dr. Woke references or whatever," she began, "but I just think we're doing the right thing if we're getting comments like that." And I would say the ratings say otherwise. She went on to say, as far as she's concerned, the show being woke is a very good thing. And again, I would say the ratings say otherwise. And as far as this being the first non-white TARDIS, Shudigatwa said, "Look at us. We get to be in the TARDIS. We're going to piss off so many people."
Not a great plan.
And again, that is just the latest in a long line of...
It's the arrogance. Freaking arrogance of these people that loses the money.
Actors and creatives being intentionally antagonistic.
Let me tell you, Star Wars always had the vibe of being in the most whitest elite space. Like, this franchise is so white that it's like a black person existing in that was something. And you can always tell it's something when some Star Wars fans try to say, well, we had Lando Calrissian and had Samuel L. Jackson. It's like telling me how many cookie chips are on the cookie dough.
The Force be with you. Unless you're MAGA, then you can go force yourself. And my message to MAGA, go force yourself, all right?
And to be part of a redress of balance within this world.
I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time.
But it's not just adult pretenders. You remember when Tim Miller said Terminator Dark Fate will scare the fuck out of misogynist internet trolls, when in truth, it just scared away ticket buyers.
Hubris on my part by thinking that I've got my finger on the pulse of fans, nerds everywhere, and maybe I don't.
Oh, then there's the studio heads like Kathleen Kennedy, who may be leaving someday, saying that women in Star Wars struggle due to the male-dominated fandom, and Amazon's Jennifer Salke initiating attacks on fans prior to the release of the abomination known as the Rings of Power. And look where that got her.
You're fired.
Whether the gaslighting is intentional, like with the examples I just showed you, or unintentional with the discourse that's been going on for almost 10 years, it hits the same because, as Charlie correctly points out, not all criticism comes from the same place. For example, Charlie here says, to be clear, I consider myself a fairly progressive-minded person, but I've found myself feeling frustrated lately. This one might sound familiar. The stories stopped feeling like they were for everyone and started to feel like they were aimed at proving a point to someone. You mean when they made Luke Skywalker, the hero of generations, a miserable quitter sucking milk out of a manatee titty and being upstaged by a Mary Sue? Or making Jean-Luc Picard a broken-down quitter in Picard being led around by the girl who's the key to everything? Or making Indiana Jones a broken-down quitter who was led around by the girl who's the key to everything? Or giving Spock a foster sister who taught him how to be a proper Vulcan? Or making the epitome of femininity, Galadriel, a dude who falls in love with Sauron? Or completely retconning the canon of Doctor Who, turning William Hartnell, who will always be the first Doctor, into a little black girl? I mean, what gave it away? Despite how the media and the studios continue to frame this, the fans...
I've never watched Doctor Who in my life. They turned the original Doctor Who into a little black girl. Like, at this point, it's just purely cynical. You can tell that they hate the audience. Okay, you want to be progressive and put more black people in shows? Great. Write interesting black characters and people will watch them. Don't disrespect everything that came before, because there's nothing wrong with what came before. Honestly.
Fans generally aren't pissed
I don't know what
because
else
of
to
the
say.
inclusivity. They're pissed because you're destroying their favorite characters. And as far as new characters are concerned, well, it's all in the execution. Unfortunately, you use them to execute our stories. Bottom line is you should have listened to the fans when they were pissed, because that means they still care, but we are way past that now. Now, the article mentions that some, but not all fans are toxic. That's not a word I use unironically, but yes, I will admit some fans are assholes. That's the way fandom has always been. That's the way it'll always be. And Hollywood's never known how to handle that, but Henry Cavill does.
It is a fan's right to have whatever opinion they want to have. And people are going to be upset because, especially when you're talking about books or games, because you're never going to be the exact person who they had in their head or who they played on Witcher 3, for example.
Brilliant.
I don't necessarily consider that toxic. I just consider that passionate.
Thank you!
Keep in
There you
mind, we're
go.
talking about fandom, something that used to be a pretty welcoming place, but specifically we're talking about Star Trek and Doctor Who fans. I must have missed the racist contingents. Classic Star Trek and Doctor Who would tackle social issues that some would call political. I would say they were tales of morality, and they often explored complex ideas and moral quandaries. As Charlie points out with the classic Doctor Who series, there's the Green Death, the Genesis of the Daleks with the neo-classic, there's Human Nature, the Family of Blood, the Zygon Invasion, the Zygon Inversion, which gave us the best Doctor Who scene ever.
This is a scale model of war. Every war ever fought right there in front of you. How many lives shattered? How much blood will spill until everybody does what they were always going to have to do from the very beginning? Sit down and talk!
And with Star Trek, there's Balance of Terror,
There we
Measure
go.
of a Man, The Drumhead, or pick a DS9
Great
episode. And the reason that worked for so long is because the message in that form was never heavy-handed, it was never preachy, it connected with us as human beings, and it never came at the cost of the story of the character. And this was
Exactly. Those Star Trek episodes, like, meant something to me. Like, in The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and the moral quandaries in those shows, I remember them. And they meant something to me. Even like Avatar The Last Airbender has some good moral conundrums in them. I still remember, I don't remember much of the show, but I remember a feeling of deep intrigue and moral interest and curiosity from watching that show, from a kid's show. But there was a lot of just subtly interesting things in there. And I watched it as an adult, mind you. But there was a lot of things in there that were so well written and subtly interesting. I still remember how I felt watching that show. I kind of want to go watch it again.
This is where Charlie has it figured out. Nowadays, it feels like the message is being delivered with a big red highlighter pen. It leaves little room for wonder and imagination. And if you don't like that approach, well, you're not the correct sort of viewer anymore. Better late to the party than not showing up at all. The last time I checked, no one was rooting for the Nazis in Raiders of the Lost Ark, or the Cybermen in Doctor Who, or their counterparts in Star Trek, the Borg. Nobody was throwing up the pom-poms for the Empire, and nobody was rooting for Kylo Ren.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
Oh, that's probably not a very good example. Well, no one was rooting for Sauron.
Sauron is hot. I can fix him.
So what was the motivation behind provoking and antagonizing your paying customers? Well, pick your poison. Greed, hubris, ego, ideology, and engagement. For example, there's Parrot Analytics, which is a firm that essentially determines the show's popularity based on engagement, good or bad. It's snake oil, but the studios are buying it, which led to a lot of articles saying we might get an Acolyte season 2. Let's fucking go. In all seriousness, while there was a lot of fun mocking and shaming the Acolyte because it deserved it, it was the last gasp of Star Wars and the last straw for a lot of Star Wars fans. It's so insignificant now that Disney didn't even mention it at the recent CinemaCon. And now it joins Star Trek, which has been languishing in obscurity, and Doctor Who, which is on the verge of cancellation again, as they all head into the long, dark apathy of the soul. As Charlie mostly correctly points out, if the show wants to speak to only one part of the audience, that's a creative decision. I disagree there. It's an ideological decision. But no one should be surprised when that comes with a cost, especially if provoking outrage becomes part of the appeal. When that happens, Doctor Who, Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, DC Comics, etc., stop feeling like it belongs to everyone. More importantly, it's come to a point where nobody wants to belong there at all, because the message is the imagination killer, which leads to apathy, which is the franchise killer.
What did it cost?
Everything.
Hey, you did it
So
to
if we
yourself.
are indeed in a post-woke era and all is pretty much said and done, I think it's completely okay to acknowledge that this has been a total bummer. I don't think I'm going out on a limb here by saying I don't think anyone wanted to see Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, Marvel has lost its way, and Lord of the Rings completely destroyed with divided fandoms. Because if you would have told me 40 years ago that I would absolutely despise new versions of Star Trek, Doctor Who, and Star Wars, I would have said you're insane. But Hollywood put in the work and made it possible. But the good news is fandom always finds a way, because we've made the best of a very bad situation. We've had a lot of laughs and found each other. And something new will eventually come along, and there's a better chance than ever it won't be coming from Hollywood, but it could come from you. And I'm looking forward to it.
Nerdrotic.
Yeah, I intend to make something good at some point. Once I get my YouTube channels rolling, get my career, get a bit of money, I'm going to start learning how to animate, and I'm going to make something nice. I'm going to make something cool for y'all. So subscribe if you want to see my journey for that, because that'll be interesting. But this is what you get when you talk down to people and you care more about feeling like you're a righteous person than doing right by the people who are going to give you money. And if you agree with that sentiment, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, so that I don't have to be broke anymore. I would love that. I'm not trying to guilt trip you. It's my own problem. I'll fix it myself. I will work to make better and better and better videos. But if you're looking to make a leap of faith at something today, make a leap of faith in me and hit the button, and I won't let you down. Peace.